everybody, welcome back to Simple Art for Adults. This is our weekly Sunday Fun Day video, and today we are going to be starting something new that I'd like to do during these videos. For the most part, what I do is just color a picture and talk about things, and that's how these have been going since I started them. But I'd like to switch it up for 2018 and start focusing on a different artist every week, just so that you guys get the opportunity to see some new art that you may not otherwise come across. So this week I'm working on this lovely picture by an artist named Lisa Mitrokhin, and she is creating this image for a new coloring book that she's making called Knights and Mares, and it is part of a collection that she's doing called Femme Macabre. So the images that are going to be in this coloring book will not be for everyone, and she kind of explained that to me. It's more of like a horror theme type coloring book. So if that's the kind of thing that you are interested in, and I know many of you are, then this book may very well be for you. And it should be ready fairly soon. I know that she was painting the cover for it not long ago. So if anybody is interested in checking out anything that I'll be talking about today, you're going to find links to Lisa's personal website, where you can buy her images and even her little, she makes toys too. So on the macabre side, and you can find her shop on Facebook too. So I will post links to all that down in the description box if you're interested in learning more about her. I did have the opportunity to kind of speak with Lisa and ask her a few questions about herself, just to kind of get to know her a little bit better. And that was really, really nice. I really love being able to do that and learn more about the people who create our coloring books for us. So Lisa was a tattoo artist, and she did that for about 10 years. And about a year ago, she retired from doing that and started making coloring book pages. Her first book is called The Four Realms, and that is still available to purchase. So if that is something that you're interested in checking out, again, the links are going to be in the description box below. As far as an art style, she says that she doesn't really like to classify herself as having a style that she prefers. Above all else, her art reflects honesty, and she pays very, very close attention to detail, which if you look at this book, or at this image, you can absolutely see that. So it's a lovely, lovely image. I am coloring this with coral from the Soho Urban Artist Colored Pencil set. This I got from Jerry's Artorama, if it'll focus for you. There you go. These are very nice pencils. They're not my favorites. They work best on super toothy paper. So that is what I am using to color this image. Some of the colors that are in it, when I saw this image at first, and it's of course called Reindeer, when I saw it at first, I knew that I wanted it to have like a Wild West type theme to it. So I'm doing her dress in like browns and reds, and that's the plan. So I'm putting the coral down kind of as a base layer. So that's all over the main part of her dress and then the top of her stockings. And then I'm going to come back in with English Red, which is a brownish red color. And I'm going to kind of go in the areas where I feel like there would be some shadow. So we're going to go down this side. Because the way I'm looking at this is I'm imagining that someone's taking her photograph. And so the light source is just dead on, right on her. So I'm trying to pick the areas where there might be some shadow. So up over where she has her hip propped up would be some shadowy area. And I'm just using really light pressure to do this. So this doesn't look like it would be too terribly shadowy. I'm going to add some back there anyhow. Just right here where her hair is for the most part. So this would all be pretty light. I'm going to put a little shadow where her hair is. So you guys probably saw this in another video where I started coloring it. And I had it recorded. I was going to show it last week, but my Android phone had an update, and I decided to go ahead and get that taken care of in the morning last Sunday. And it ate my footage before I had a chance to finish it up. So I didn't get to show you guys that video of me coloring this picture. So we're doing it again, which is okay because I've chosen just slightly different colors this time because I think I'm going to like them better. Okay, so as far as shadows go here, what I'm going to do is just kind of leave a highlight here in the center of this part of her stocking. So I'm really excited about Lisa's work. I was impressed when I saw this image, and I know that when I went to go check out her website, she is a very good writer. She writes, she maintains a blog, and she has some very meaningful things to say, which is always very nice. And of course, me being a writer by trade, that's what I do for a living. I always appreciate when someone has a knack for writing and does it with passion, and she does. And of course, her art is just beautiful. Of course, it's really new for me to color skin tones as well, so I don't think we're going to get to that in this video because the dress itself is going to take so many layers. I would probably be here for several hours if I decided to do the skin and the dress all in one video, and nobody wants that. So how is everyone today? I hope that you guys have all had a nice restful weekend, or if you've had to work this weekend, I hope that at least you get to take it easy for a little while today. You don't have to do too awful much. I know that, well, it's actually, for me right now, it's Saturday night because my Sunday morning is going to be busy. I have all the kids here this weekend, and my daughter has to work, and the roads are terrible, so I wanted to go ahead and get this recorded and scheduled to post for you guys just in case something happens. Not to mention, I'm a little behind with work myself, so I could probably use to get caught up some. So I'm just very, very lightly adding some color. Let me zoom you guys in so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So far I've got some coral, very light, some English red, and then I'm going to go back in with alizarin crimson, and I hope I'm saying that right. Taking a drink of my Coke too. So we're pretty much snowed in. It's not so bad today. It's not as bad today as it was yesterday. But fortunately, I managed to I got everything I had to do done while it was icing. It was just freezing rain falling down, and I was out running around in it, unfortunately. I managed to get home sort of in the middle of that. And then after all the freezing rain fell, we got about 4 inches of snow on top of that. So it's been treacherous to try to go anywhere, to say the least. But today, when I had to get out for a little while to take my oldest daughter to work, the main roads weren't bad. So I was pretty impressed by that the road crews had done a very good job of cleaning off the main roads. So this is my darkest color now. And again, I'm going back where I put all those shadows and just trying to make them a little bit deeper and a little bit darker, just a little bit at a time. So these pencils, and I know that we don't see a lot of these on ColorTube, which is kind of one of the reasons why I chose them and decided to go ahead and use them today, because it's just not something you see a whole lot of. These pencils are okay. They are not my favorites. I don't like them on smoother paper at all because it's so difficult to get color down. You have to press really, really hard, I think, to get any real color, which is a bit of a pain. But this is the Vellum Bristol surface paper, the Nina Exact 67-pound Vellum Bristol paper. And this is available on Amazon. It's, you know, somewhere between $5 and $8 for 200 sheets, I believe. So it's affordable, and it's only 67 pounds, so it fits through the printer. It's one of my favorites when I know that I'm going to be doing a lot of layering. This is the paper I tend to go for. I don't like my Prismacolors on it so much. It's hard to really get the tooth of the paper filled with Prismacolors because they just don't stay sharp enough. So far, so good. So I'm going for kind of that pinky, rusty red color that you see. It reminds me of the Old West, and that's what I'm going for here. Now the Soho Urban Artists colored pencil set only comes with 72 colors. And as far as lighter flesh tones, you're kind of at a loss. There's not a whole lot in there to create those, and I do want her, I see her in my head as pale, very pale, with nice rosy cheeks and almost black hair. So that's how I want her to turn out. So I'm probably going to have to reach for a different set of pencils to get the skin color that I want for her. And that's okay. Doesn't bother me a bit. We can go for the Black Widows or Scorpions. They have some lovely colors in there. It's just going to be a matter, I think, of using very light pressure with whatever colors I choose. And that brings me to another point. There was a question today in the Facebook group about why, whenever I do my color swatches, why I do like a single color gradient from dark to light or from light to dark. And it's for situations like this. When I have a set of pencils that doesn't have a color light enough for what I want to do, having that gradient shows me which colored pencil, when applied very lightly, is going to get me closest to what I want. Now, most of the time that's not necessary because you can kind of look at the color and tell what's going to happen with it. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you get a little bit different than what you would expect when you apply really light pressure with a pencil. So I like having that visual guide in front of me as I color. I like to see the full spectrum. All the different tones and whatnot that I can get out of my pencil. I think it just makes it easier for me when I'm trying to pick which color I want to use. So I'm probably going to end up using more of this red than I am right now, the alizarin crimson. Like I said, I'm starting out nice and light. Just trying to get my colors down. Okay. I'm just using a light pressure to kind of pull that darker color down. I like that, and it's going to keep the highlight kind of like right here, which is where I want it. But I am going to come back in with the English red and darken it up a little bit. Alright guys, I have my children who are in the kitchen and they're going to get the dogs all riled up. So I'm going to go take care of them before it gets too noisy. And I will be right back with more coloring for you guys. Just a second. Alright guys, sorry about that. Apparently they are hungry again, and I just fed them not long ago. So, you know, typical kids. So there may be some noise, but it won't last too long. Let's see. I'm trying to decide where to put. I'm looking at my colors here, trying to decide which ones I want to put where. Because I don't want the highlight to be huge. I do like these pencils on this paper though, because I can get lots of light layers, which is, for me, one of the most relaxing ways to color, is just to use a whole lot of layers. And I need to do this a little more. Basically, I'm just bringing the middle color that I picked, bringing it up a little higher to start. Make it a little darker over here. And then really fade it, very, very light pressure, up into where the coral is. I think that's starting to look rather nice. To do the same here, so I get just a better gradient out of it. Not too shabby. So I got up at like 5 o'clock this morning because I fell asleep so early last night. I don't know what happened. Got my book out, was getting ready to lay down and get comfortable. I turned on YouTube. I was watching, I started out watching Anne's Coffee and Color Talk. I think that's what she called it. So that's what I started out watching. And then I kind of just let it keep playing through whatever was recommended. Because sometimes I find new things like that. And that always makes me really happy when I discover new channels that I didn't even know about. So I remember I got all the way through Anne's video, and then something else started, and I don't even remember what it was. I was just like asleep after that. I had my Kindle in my hand, and I wanted to read so badly because I'm reading this book series. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll get it later and let you know what it is. But it's about a girl named Cricket who's apparently from another planet. And I haven't gotten too far in the book yet, but basically what happens is she's from another planet and there are people who are looking for her. So she's been caught, or almost caught, I think, at this point. And I'm kind of excited to see what's going on. And I was really excited about it last night. And it's one of those times where you wake up in the morning bummed out that you went to sleep so early. It's like, darn it. I wanted to read my book. But once I finish coloring for the night and go get my dishes done and get the laundry started and all the household things, then I will have time to read. And there's also a new ColorTube channel that I came across today that I want to check out. I'm not going to mention any names yet because, to be fair, I have come across some that I don't like or agree with. It's very rare for that to happen. I've only had a couple that I haven't subscribed to for various reasons. Generally because I just don't like the way things are presented, or I feel like some of the things that the people say are not very nice. So I typically don't subscribe to or recommend those. And I do really watch several videos from folks before I decide whether or not I'm going to recommend them. So that's my plan for tonight, is to check out this new channel and see what's going on there. Whether it's something I feel comfortable recommending. Most of them are. I don't want to be negative and make it sound like there's a whole bunch of people out there that are doing bad things, because there's not. And even the ones I don't subscribe to, there's nothing like inherently bad about it. It's just it's not my style, I guess. And that's kind of how I want the whole thing to look, is this reddish, rusty color. So I'm excited to get all of it there. But I think it's not red enough down here. I think I may have not added enough. So I'm going to go back. And try to make it just a little bit redder along the edges. So that is my plan. Once I finish recording the video and get it all edited and put up for you guys, I'm going to get all my other things done that come with mom duty, and read my book and watch ColorTube. Not at the same time. I can't do two things like that at once. I wish I could. I really wish I could, but unfortunately it's just not something that I have mastered. Like, I've tried watching certain YouTube channels while I color. Excuse me. And I can't do it because whatever it is that they're doing is so interesting that I completely forget that I'm coloring. And I think that's why I haven't managed to get a whole lot done so far this year. So far, I'm sticking to my resolution. I'm finishing everything I'm starting, and I'm getting close. But I had like 3 works in progress going at the same time. And I finished one. I finished the one in Sagger Oak Sagner. And as a matter of fact, I will show it to you because I know not all you guys are in the Facebook group to see it. So I'll go ahead and show you that. I just did the nameplate page. I can get it, the whole thing in here. Yep, that's all of it. So I did all of this in Prismacolor, with the exception of the crowns and my name, which I signed in the Jelly Roll Gold Shadow pen. You're probably not going to see it too well in the camera light, but these metallic gel pens, and I'm going to tell you what, I know a lot of us out there are unimpressed with most metallic gel pens. These are the ones that come in the Office Think set, and they are fantastic. And it's not just metal colors. There's metallic gel pens in like all the colors. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but her nail polish is done in like a metallic red. And I don't think I'm going to be able to show that off to you guys. But it is. And it's really pretty. I can see it. So yeah, this was my first completed picture of 2018. I was actually happy with it. I like the way it turned out. I wasn't real happy with the purple flowers at first, these ones with the stripes. But once I had it all in there, it looked better, especially up against this brighter green. So I was happy with it. I think it turned out nicely. It's a wonderful book. I do want to thank the sweet dear friend who sent this to me. It has quickly become one of my favorites. Okay, so back to where we were. We were using the English red and making the dress darker. So my other work in progress is in Tenderful Enchantments, and I'm using the Lyra Polycolor pencils, the Lyra Rembrandt Polycolor pencils to do the background for it. I'm doing a complete pencil background. I like the polycolors when I do that type of background. I think they go down smoothly, but nonetheless, there's still what I like to call the ugly phase, which basically is when you can see all the pencil strokes and you've got a few layers down, but you're nowhere close to finished, and it just doesn't look very good. And the guys and gals in the Facebook group were like, I don't see anything ugly, and I'm like, guys, I know, you know, I know you don't, and I know you're being nice to me, but it's not ugly. Ugly is a bad word, I think, to use. to use for it. It's the incomplete phase. Or I think, as Beth told me in one of the admins in my Facebook group, she told me that somebody else refers to it as the hot mess stage. And that's pretty well, I'll just show you. That's pretty much where it is. It's in the hot mess stage. So, I'm doing the nameplate page in this one too. So, this is what I'm talking about with a hot mess. And it won't look like that when I'm finished. This part down here, the greens, these look like that too when I first got started. They were a hot mess too. But they're coming together. And you see I've got dark over here and dark over here. So now I've just got to kind of mesh them together here in the middle. And again, it's the Lyra Polycolors. So they are very good at doing that. They're really easy to smooth out and blend out, which is why I like using them for pencil backgrounds. The rest of it is done in polychromos. And again, this is Clara Markova's Tenderful Enchantments. I'm having a lot of fun with this picture. So I just wanted to show you what I meant when I say the ugly phase or the hot mess phase or whatever you want to refer to it as. Most colored pencil artists, not necessarily colorists, in some colors, but a lot of colored pencil artists will tell you that it is inevitable. If you are doing a colored pencil painting, there is going to come a phase where it almost looks like you're not going to be able to fix it. You're just not going to be able to. But if you just keep working and you just keep going and you keep putting your layers down, and that it will come together. It really does. So for those of you who get to a phase like what I just showed you and you think, oh no, I've ruined this, there's no way this is ever going to come together, it will. It really will. Just keep going. Especially with when you're doing big areas like that with a colored pencil background, you just have to keep at it. And that's why I always, always, always recommend that you use a whole bunch of light layers instead of just going in there and trying to get the color down all at once, especially if you're going to do a gradient. Now, if you're following along with me in the romantic country color along that we're doing for January, then you know that I did the exact opposite of that with that particular color along. For the walls and the floor, I just went in with one color and one real heavy layer and laid it down. Well, you can get away with that with the Prismacolors and with that particular paper, because when you put the Prismacolors down on smooth paper like that, you really don't see pencil strokes and pencil marks. It's like coloring with lipstick almost. So you can get away with it. With the polychromos and the Lyra Rembrandt polycolor pencils, that doesn't work as well, especially for large areas. You're just not going to get that seamless transition from one color to the next. You're going to see a harsher line between the colors. And that's, when I color, I try to avoid that as best as I can. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just that whenever I'm coloring, I prefer to try to avoid it. I want it to I want one color to kind of melt into the next. So that's what I really work hard to try to get. And I think that the Lyra pencils allow me to do that more easily than any other colored pencil that I have. So like I've said many, many times, I'm not telling you to run out and buy, you know, the whole big set of Lyra pencils because I say they're my favorite for backgrounds. Don't do that. If you're really, really curious and you want to see how they work for you to do pencil backgrounds, you can go to dickblake.com and you can order them. You can order them open stock. So what I would do would be choose 3 or 4 different colors that you might put in a background that work well together. And if you're not sure about what colors to get, but you have an idea, you can always ask me. I have mine all swatched out, and I can kind of show you what colors I have so you can get an idea of what to order. But yeah, definitely try some open stock first. I happen to love them, but I also know of several people who don't like them at all. So just because I say I like them and they're my favorite doesn't mean that you're going to like them. And I would hate for you to spend that kind of money on something that you just absolutely don't like. Now also, with that being said, I got my set of the Polycolors. The only reason I have them at all is because I was on Amazon one day early summer, I think it was, and I hadn't been coloring very long at all. So I'd only just gotten started, and I was just at the point where I was starting to look into buying different artist grade pencils, and I wasn't really sure what to do. I had the Prismacolors, but that was pretty much it as far as anything that was actually artist grade was concerned. And I stumbled upon a seller who had one set of 36 of the Lyra Rembrandt Polycolors on sale for $18, which is just insane. That's a crazy price. So I snagged them because I knew from tracking prices and things like that that the price this seller was offering was insane. And I thought to myself the whole time I was waiting for these pencils to arrive that I had probably just ordered myself some fake pencils, and they were probably going to show up broken and damaged and halfway used, even though they said they were new. And that wasn't the case, guys. They arrived brand new. They arrived in great condition. I have had no issues with breakage, nothing, and I love them. They work nice with the polychromos. They work nice with the Prismacolors. So there's really no. It's like having a complementary set of pencils. And there are two colors in that set that I don't think I could live without now that I have them. And those two colors are Viridian and Night Green. Night Green isn't really green at all. It's more of a blue color. But it's gorgeous nonetheless. And it's one of my favorite colored pencils that I own. And then Viridian, of course, is the really super bright green. Almost like a forest green, but brighter. It's hard to explain it. And if you want to order some open stock pencils for backgrounds, those two are a good place to start. So I'm still here with English Red, just kind of darkening up my colors a little. I've got this part pretty well done and this part pretty well done. So I'm just darkening up my colors on the rest of her dress. I want this little area here to be a highlight, so I'm leaving it. And I can't decide how much of her chest area that I want to be highlighted either. Because I'm afraid if I leave it too much, it's going to be like, hey, look at my chest. So I don't want too big of a highlighted area. I think I'm just going to bring some of this around. Just like that. So it won't be so in your face, I guess. There we go. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to take my coral again, and I'm going to go back in right here in the center where the highlight is. And I'm going to kind of try to use it to mix these colors together in this spot. And I may need to come back in. Yeah, I think I do need to come back in with my reds. This is okay up to here, but I need this to be a little darker. Yep, English Red is what I want for now. So I'm just going to go ahead and go in a little heavier with the English Red and pull it out toward that coral. And the same over here. I'm just going to do her whole side over here a little bit darker. So I guess the good news is that now, since it's snowed outside, it's been really quiet. Like really super quiet in the neighborhood lately. Which I like. And it's too bad that I don't like living in the country. Like, I don't like living very far away from town because then it's like, oh, well, what happens if my car breaks down? How am I going to get, how am I going to get food? How am I going to get, you know, things I've got to get? What am I going to do if the kids get sick at school and my car's broken down and they're so far away? So, you know, that's just me. I think about things like that. So, country living doesn't appeal to me. But the lack of city noise does. So, I know what you're thinking. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Erin. Yeah, I know. I wish I could. That would be wonderful. We live in a really small town. There are less than 1,000 people total in the city that I live in. So things like noise ordinances and whatnot, those don't really exist here. They do, but it has to be bad. So like if your neighbors are throwing a party at 5 o'clock in the morning for 3 days straight, there's not a whole much you're going to be able to do about it, really. I mean, you can do what I would try to do and try to talk to your neighbors and explain, look, I got kids and a job and obligations and your party's going until 5 a.m. I can't sleep. But people today, most of them don't care, so you're kind of left with not very many options. Now, I'm not a party pooper. I'm not a party pooper. I don't mind. I don't mind if people want to throw a party. It's just please do so within reason. I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger and I used to do the whole party thing, I used to have parties at my house and we used to have people being loud and obnoxious, but we didn't do it very often. And I remember that when I hosted them, I always talked to my neighbors beforehand. I always told them that, you know, hey, I'm going to have some people over. It's likely to be late. Which night works better for you guys, Friday or Saturday, in case it does get loud, because I don't want to keep you up if you're going to church or you have to work on Saturdays. So, you know, and I found that by doing things like that, the neighbors were not as grouchy about it. In fact, when I was young, really young, I think I was like, I don't know, 20, 21, I was having a little housewarming party when I had first moved to a new town, and I had a bunch of my friends over just to kind of celebrate with me, and I had told the neighbors beforehand that, you know, I went over and introduced myself and told them my name and that I was moving in and that I was going to have a housewarming party, but to not take it the wrong way because I don't party all the time. And those neighbors, the night of the party, once some people arrived, and it wasn't too late, I think it was like 9 o'clock or something, they came over with a bottle of some not like crazy expensive bourbon. I think it was like Woodford Reserve or something, to welcome me into the neighborhood. And it was like the sweetest thing. And I had, you know, it was shocking. Because most of the time neighbors get mad. And these were, you know, at the time, these were older people too. And so, you know, normally they would have been like me and angry that their neighbors were throwing a party right next door until 3 o'clock in the morning. But no, they welcomed me and brought me the bottle of Woodford Reserve, and they came in and said hello to all my friends and welcomed us all to the neighborhood. And I had a great relationship with those neighbors the whole time I lived in that neighborhood. And I wish more people were that way. So, there you go, guys. If you have neighbors and you are thinking about throwing a party and you know it's going to be a noisy party, be considerate of your neighbors and let them know, and maybe they'll bring you a big bottle of booze to help you kick your party off right. I don't drink anymore, though. I could quit drinking. So I guess these days, if somebody wanted to bring me a housewarming gift, I'd be like, I don't drink that. Can I have cheesecake? Apple pie? food. Give me food. And then a place like this where I live now, of course, you know, we all know each other. Everybody here knows everybody. They all grew up together, and so you can't do much here and get away with it because everybody knows about it. Alright, I'm going back in with coral, trying to fill in this highlighted area of her dress. I like this. I like this better than I like the first one. And then back here on the sleeve. I like that, guys. I think that looks pretty nice. Now, something else I want to try that I got in the mail. Let me find it because I know it's in one of my pastel drawers somewhere. This is Caran d'Ache Full Blender Bright. And basically it's a big stick of blender. Mine came, they took 3 weeks to get to me, and then when they got here, they were broken in half. But it's no big deal because it's a full stick of blender. The whole thing is blender. So it's not like I can't use it. I'll just stick it in a pencil extender and call it a day. And for whatever reason, my Tegel sharpener is not wanting to sharpen it. Oh, I bet I know why. Okay, with the Tegel sharpener, the pencil goes in kind of deep. So if you have it in the extender too far, and it just pushed it right back down in there. The hexagonal barrel makes it hard to keep it in here. I'm trying to get it so tight it won't move. You know what, guys? This is not working. So what I'm going to do is I'll use that. And this. Stick it in the trusty M&R because I know that'll do the trick. And for whatever reason, this Derwent extender doesn't want to keep, it won't hold the pencil because it's so slick, I suppose. And I've got little bits of it going everywhere. Today on Simple Art for Adults, Erin shows you how to not sharpen a Caran d'Ache full blender. That's good enough. Alright, so I'm going to go over this with this blender and we're going to see what happens. I've heard good things about this blender. Number one, supposedly if you get a nice heavy coat of it over your work, it makes your work waterproof. Number two, it's supposed to add some additional UV protection. So if you're working with pencils that aren't quite as light fast, it can add some light fastness to them by protecting them from UV rays. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be able to go out and buy a box of Crayola pencils and do commissioned artwork with them, go over them with a Caran d'Ache blender and sell them to people. I don't think I trust it quite that much. But for something like, let's say that you're using the polychromos and you're getting into the pinks and reds that aren't quite as light fast as the rest of the set, this may boost those a little bit. Look at that, guys. Look how that is just going right over that paper and pushing all that color down in the tooth. Let me zoom in. I'm going to show you on this part of her dress. I'm going to get you really close. Okay, you see how you can see all this tooth in the paper? All right, I'm going to go over it. Now, again, this is the Caran d'Ache Full Blender Bright. And I'm using heavy pressure because I'm done with color. I have the color down there that I want. So I'm using a nice heavy pressure. It does make some dust, kind of like a Prismacolor though, so watch out for that. And basically I'm just going over the whole thing to help me get my gradient the way I like. Make it all blend together nicely. But the amazing part of this is that on this Vellum Bristol paper, look at that. The tooth is all gone. All of it. It vanished. It doesn't exist anymore. That is crazy. Let's do this part. Let me clean the color off of it. The only bad thing about this is that I think whenever I ordered it, there was only one seller, and it took like 3 weeks for him to get it to me. And they put it in one of those little flimsy bubble envelopes. So I emailed Amazon, or emailed them through Amazon, and I haven't heard anything back yet. So if I haven't heard anything by Monday or Tuesday, then I'll contact Amazon directly and let them know. I am thoroughly impressed with that. Let me zoom back out. That is lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I am thoroughly happy with that. Okay, so now that I'm finished with those colors, I have Sangria and Venetian Red. Let me test these first and see how I like them. And this is my tester page, so I'll just go ahead and use it on this. So of these, I'm not sure which is the lightest and which is the darkest. So we've got Sanguine, or no, that's Venetian Red, and then Sanguine is browner. And then I also have Crimson out. I think I want to do Crimson and Venetian Red for the ruffles on her dress. Alright guys, I'll be back momentarily. Bear with me. I'm going to go tell my video gaming son to stop yelling. I'll be right back. Alright guys, thank you so much for being patient. Even though I was only gone for a second, we did have to resolve the noise issue, but that's all taken care of now. So I'm going to take two different colors. I have Venetian Red, which is a little lighter, and Crimson, which is a little darker and brighter. And I'm going to do like the ruffles here around her arms, this little part that tucks down inside of her cleavage area, and then the big ruffle down around her dress. So I am going to start out with these ruffles. And I'm just going to go over it with the Venetian Red first. Again, just, you know, a light, medium to light layer. Because this isn't, when it's a smaller area, I feel like it's not as difficult to make it look nice. And so I don't spend quite as much time layering and building color. But I think this should go well with the colors that we chose for the rest of her dress. So, about a week ago, I bought, while I was out at Walmart, I was kind of browsing through the clearance aisle because you guys know by now that I don't go anywhere without going through the clearance aisle. And I found an electric tea kettle. So basically it's just a tea kettle that sits on a hot plate, and you fill it with water, turn it on, and then once it's boiling, it turns itself off. So it's got a safety mechanism built in. And both of my daughters are huge, huge tea drinkers. And I like tea too, but not like they do. So I bought this electric kettle, and I brought it home. And that thing has been in use since the day I brought it home. They love it. I think it's by a company called Bodum, spelled B-O-D-U-M. And I paid $5 for it, which is... And it's crazy. You can't even buy like a little generic chrome tea kettle for $5 anymore. So I was really happy to have that. Now we do have the traditional tea kettle that whistles when it's finished. We do have one. And the girls did use it quite a bit. but I don't know, for whatever reason, they didn't use it as much. I guess because it's slower. The only thing that I miss about using that one as opposed to the electric one that we have now is the whistle. The electric one doesn't beep or whistle or anything to tell you when it's done. It just shuts off. So that's kind of a bummer. But it will boil like 1.5 liters of water in about 2 minutes. So that's really nice. If everybody in the house is wanting some tea or hot chocolate or something, or if I need hot water, like if I'm need hot water because I'm making risotto or something, it's right there, which is fantastic. Or like if you're one of those people and you have a stove that's really super slow at boiling water, and you're trying to make pasta or something, you can get your water boiling in that thing and then pour it in a hot pan. There you go. Save yourself some time. I actually fried chicken today for the first time in I don't know how long. And it got completely devoured in no time flat. It was funny. And I made a lot of it too. Alright, so now I'm going back in with crimson and kind of going over these areas where the little wrinkles are. I'm kind of going over the black lines with it as well. I'm just going in dark. Because I'm coming back over it with the other color. And then I'm coming back in with Venetian Red. And I don't think I'm going to make it as dark as I did here. I think I'm going to leave it a little lighter and then go back and go in with the blender and kind of push it down into the tooth. We'll try it and experiment with it and see what happens after I clean off the blender. I'm going to have to find a better way to sharpen this thing, though. Alright, let's see what happens here with it. Oh yeah, I love this thing. I will definitely be ordering more. I will use these until I can't use them anymore, or I can't sharpen them anymore. And then I will try to maybe order them from Blick or something next time, because look at that. That's awesome. Alright, Venetian Red. Now, for those of you who are really, really interested and want to try it, I will look on Amazon before this video goes live and see if I can find a link from a different seller than the one that I bought it from. And I'm not going to mention that seller because I don't want to give anybody a bad reputation that whoever it was at that company could have just been having a bad day or something, or was new and didn't know how to package it. I don't want to do that. But I also don't want to recommend to you guys a seller and you might have the same thing happen to you. I don't want to do that either. So I'll see if I can find a different seller who has it at a good price. And it's about $8 for 2 of them, but remember, they are the same length as the colored pencil, but the whole thing is blender. There's no wood casing, there's no nothing. It's all just blender. So it's a little more expensive than a Prismacolor blender. But as you guys are seeing, I'm liking it better, at least on this paper. it's working well on this paper. I haven't tried it on other paper other than the Sangria and Venetian and oh no, not Sangria and Venetian, Tenderful Enchantments. I used it trying to blend those colors out, and it worked well there too. The difference that it makes in getting the color down in the tooth on this Vellum Bristol, though, is just crazy. Not even a Prismacolor blender will do that. And even it can, but you have to press crazy hard, and it leaves a whole bunch of dust behind, and it picks up a lot of the color as it's pushing it down in the tooth. This actually makes the color brighter. And I found that with the Prismacolor blender, if you try to use it before you have a lot of layers down, it'll damage your paper, and this one won't. It's softer than a Prismacolor blender. And I know that you guys can see my pencil strokes, but don't fret it, 'cause those will blend out. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take my crimson, and I'm going to go in heavy and color all these little areas where the dress is kind of bunched up and ruffled. And hopefully this will help it look a little bit more three-dimensional. Like I did up here, I'm going to go over the black lines and fill in the little spaces with the crimson too. And that blender, when I come back over, is going to help blend this into the Venetian red without like smearing it everywhere, which is good. I'm having a lot of fun coloring this so far. This is really, really nice. These pencils are working nicely on the paper. The blender's working nicely on the paper. The art is just gorgeous to start with. Okay, so this part needs to be colored in crimson. And so does this one. So basically the areas where her dress is like flipped up with the ruffles, I'm coloring it all crimson. So all of this from here and again, I'm using a nice heavy pressure because I know that I don't want this to be any other colors, just the crimson. I'm burnishing as I go, just one layer. And then just this little spot right here. All right, let me go ahead and get a point back on here. While I have that point, I'm going to go ahead and finish outlining all the black lines. I'm actually enjoying this so much that I don't want to stop the video. I like just want to keep coloring. But if I do that, then nobody's clothes are going to get washed. And we've all been there, guys. We've all been there. We've all been at the point where we're like, well, do we be responsible adults or do we just keep coloring? Sometimes it's hard to choose. Yep, I think I'm going to leave it just like that. And then I'm going to come back in one more time with the Venetian Red, and I'm just going to go over all the areas that I originally did just to make it a little bit darker. I'm just using like a medium pressure. I'm not burnishing or anything. I'll do that with the blender. Now just FYI, if this was a smoother paper, we wouldn't be getting this kind of color out of these pencils. In my experience. Some of you may disagree with me if you have these pencils and you like them. But I found that with smoother papers, it's really hard to get this kind of color from them. Which is why I chose this surface, because I really wanted to work with these pencils. I think they're sold on Amazon. I'm not 100% certain. I know that it's a Jerry's Artorama thing. If I can find them on Amazon, I will link to them in the description box. Along with the Caran d'Ache blender and the Tagall sharpener. If you're interested in the M&R sharpener, which is the brass one that I showed you, let me know and I'll get you guys a link to that too. The links that I use, again, for those of you who are new to the channel, those links are affiliate links. So basically what happens is if you use those links to make a purchase through Amazon, you don't pay any extra. You pay exactly what you would have paid anyway. But I make like a very small commission for everything you buy through those links. So it really does help the channel out that way. And it's just, you know, it's no extra money or anything for you. It's just following those links. Guys, I am loving this blender. Love, love, loving it. Like, I'm not certain how I've gone this long without it. See that? Look at that. Now, my only trouble is going to come trying to get down in these little bitty spaces. I may actually have to get the Prismacolor one out for that because the blender was broken, so I can't sharpen it correctly. But that's okay. If I have to get the Prismacolor one out for the little bitty spaces, I will. Not the end of the world. Or it could just be this Derwent pencil extender too, because it feels like it's loose in there. And there is a hexagonal pencil, so that may also play a role. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and get, actually, because we're using, let's try the Lyra one. I have the Lyra Splendor blender here. We'll see if that one does any good. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just going to use this one to try to push the color down in these little areas. And I have to go really hard pressure with this. Oh yeah, it's just no contest. The Caran d'Ache one is so much easier. So much easier. And guys, I'm turning my pencil as I go because I'm pushing really hard, which is dulling the tip of the pencil really fast. So I'm trying to turn it so I can always find that little sharp corner without having to sharpen it. And I have like this little space right here. I can't tell if there's like paper excuse me, my voice is going. Paper damage. Nope, looks okay to me now. Alright, let me zoom this out so you guys can see. I like it. I think that turned out really, really well. Alright guys, I've been here for over an hour tonight. Wow. And I still have quite a bit that I need to get done this evening. As much as I would love to continue coloring this page for you guys today, unfortunately it's just not going to happen. I will keep it here on my drawing board though and see what other colors I can find to go with what I've already done. Please don't forget to check the description box downstairs after you've watched the video, so you can find links to, like I said, Lisa's website and where you can find her work, her Facebook group. She actually has her own Facebook group based on her colored art, and her toy making Facebook group too. Again, the toys do kind of reflect the theme of the book. From what I've seen, that may not be the case for all of them. But they are very cute, and I do happen to like them quite a bit. So if that's something you think you're into, be sure to go check that out. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up because that helps it get out in front of more people, which is really, really helpful for the channel as a whole. If you haven't subscribed yet and you like videos like this, please go ahead and do so, and then hit the notification bell so that you'll know when I put up a new video for you to watch. Sorry about that guys, I keep turning my head away from the microphone. Otherwise, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Sunday to spend with me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy coloring, everyone.